Hey buddy, we live in a world that constantly bombards us with the idea that we need others' approval to chase our dreams, that we must have their validation to make any decision, and that we're somehow incomplete without a constant stream of connection. Society whispers that being alone equals loneliness, that walking your own way signifies failure, and that holding your own hand through life's challenges means you're weak. But what if I told you that the greatest warriors throughout history, not just on the battlefield but in everyday life, only truly found their strength when they learned how to stand completely alone? Take Marcus Johnson, the philosopher king of ancient Rome. He kept a private journal and once wrote, "Very little is needed to lead a happy life. It all begins inside your mind." Even though he ruled over thousands in the Roman Empire, he knew that genuine resilience comes from within, from the ability to look at yourself honestly without distractions or someone else's opinion drowning out your inner voice. Think about that for a second. Every major breakthrough in your life has probably happened when you decided to stop waiting for others' permission and started forging your own path. That moment of authentic growth came when you faced your fears alone, when you chose courage instead of comfort, when you realized that your vision was more important than others' approval. The true warrior of the mind doesn't walk alone because they dislike people, but because they understand that real connection with others depends on first establishing a strong connection with yourself. You see, when you get really good at walking alone, you don't become lonely. You become free. Free from the exhausting game of chasing validation, from being trapped in other people's expectations, free to love and serve from a place of genuine abundance rather than desperation. The path of the true warrior isn't the easiest, but it's the only one that leads to real fulfillment. Today, I want to lay out 7 powerful principles that can totally shift how you view solitude, how you handle challenges, and how you build unshakable inner strength. If this resonates with you, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. And don't skip any part of this video. Each principle builds upon the last, and you'll need all 7 to truly understand the warrior's way. Drop this in the comments: I walk alone, I rise alone, I win alone. Number 1. Embrace sacred solitude. The first principle is learning to see solitude not as some punishment but as a sacred space. Most folks fear being alone because they've never learned to enjoy their own company. They drown out quiet moments with noises, scrolling through their phones, calling friends, binge-watching, or consuming content, anything to avoid sitting with themselves. But here's the thing. In that discomfort lies your biggest treasure. Seneca, a famous Stoic philosopher, once said that instead of suffering in forced solitude, he used those moments to develop insights that still influence us today. He wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." When you're truly alone, something remarkable happens. The noise of others' opinions fades away. The pressure to perform or pretend evaporates. What's left is the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are beneath all the masks. Most people find this terrifying because they've built their whole identity around external validation. But for the Stoic, this is liberation. Think of a time when you sat in total silence longer than 10 minutes. No phone, no music, no distractions, just you and your mind. If that feels unbearable, guess what? You're in the same boat as most folks, afraid of your own thoughts. But here's the truth. Your mind is your strongest tool. Like any tool, it needs training, care, and respect. Sacred solitude is where you develop your moral compass. When no one is around to impress or judge you, that's when you truly discover what you care about, what you value, and what you're really made of. It's in these quiet moments that your deepest wisdom whispers to you, the advice drowned out in everyday chaos. Start small, 5 minutes of intentional alone time each morning. Sit quietly, observe your thoughts, no judgment, no agenda. As you get comfortable with your own company, extend that time. Take solo walks without podcasts or music. Eat in silence. Travel alone more often. You might find that solitude isn't empty at all, it's full of potential. It's where ideas spark, Courage is cultivated, and the person you truly are comes back into focus. The Stoic warrior sees that, while many chase external triumphs, the real fight happens in those quiet moments when it's just you and your soul. Number 2, your opinion of me is none of my business. The second big rule that separates the true warrior from the crowd is realizing that what others think of you is outside your control and has zero bearing on your journey. Most people spend their entire lives trapped by opinions that don't even belong to them, whether it's what their parents think, what friends say, or what strangers on social media judge. The Stoic approach: break those invisible chains. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent," and that hits the nail on the head. But let me go further with this. Epictetus, an ancient Stoic teacher who went from being a slave to a revered thinker, said that we suffer not because of events themselves, but because of how we judge those events. When someone criticizes your choices or insults you, they aren't actually hurting you, they're revealing something about themselves. Here's a blunt truth most people can't handle: that person who judges your dreams, they're probably miserable in their own life. The friend who questions your path, odds are they've given up on their own. The family member who criticizes, they're projecting their fears and regrets onto you. Their opinion isn't about you, it's about their own struggles. A true Stoic develops what I call opinion immunity. That doesn't mean arrogance or dismissiveness of genuine feedback. It means the wisdom to tell apart the input that can help your growth from the background noise of insecurities and discomfort from others. Ask yourself, last time someone disapproved, did their judgment really matter? Are they living the life you want? Do they show the qualities you admire? Are they speaking from love or from fear? Usually, you'll find that their opinion isn't worth much because it comes from a place you don't want to be in. The truth is, chasing approval is a losing game. No matter how much you please, there will always be someone waiting to judge you, and that's just part of life. The only opinion that counts is what you see in the mirror each evening. Practice this daily. Before making a decision based on others' reactions, pause and ask yourself, what would I do if nobody was watching? What choice aligns with my values, regardless of how others might feel? Then follow through. Start small. Wear that shirt you love but others might mock. Share an idea that's meaningful to you even if it's unpopular. Take up a hobby that makes you happy, even if others think it's weird. Each step you take in living authentically makes you stronger. Number 3, self-reliance is your greatest strength. The third rule is simple but profound. Understanding that self-reliance isn't selfish. It's the bedrock of true service to others. We often confuse independence with alienation, self-sufficiency with selfishness. But the wise know that if you can't stand on your own 2 feet, you'll struggle to lift anyone else. Think about it: you can't give what you don't possess, and you can't lead if you aren't willing to go it alone sometimes. Ralph Waldo Emerson, a paramentor to Stoic philosophy, said, "Nothing can bring you peace but the triumph of principles." Relying on others for your emotional health, self-esteem, or basic needs leaves you vulnerable and dependent. Here's a helpful analogy. Remember the emergency instructions on a plane: put on your own oxygen mask first before helping others. This isn't selfish, it's smart. If you pass out trying to save someone else, now you're both in danger. Same applies in life. When you build the skills, mindset, and inner resources to handle your challenges, you become not a drain but a pillar of strength for those around you. That's what I call emotional sovereignty: the ability to process your feelings, solve your problems, and keep your peace without needing others to rescue or validate you constantly. It doesn't mean you shouldn't ask for help sometimes. It means you do so from a position of strength, not desperation. Relationships become healthier because you're no longer seeking completion from another, but striving to be whole yourself. That's how genuine love and mutual growth happen. Practically develop skills across different areas. Learn to cook nutritious meals, manage your finances, regulate your emotions, build physical strength, or cultivate curiosity. As you master these, the feeling of freedom and confidence grows. But at a deeper level, it's about spiritual self-reliance at developing your own relationship with purpose, meaning, and truth without outsourcing it to others. Don't let outside voices drown out your own understanding of what makes life worth living. Read your own texts, meditate on the big questions, and form your own views. When you accept full responsibility for your life, you regain power over your destiny. Pick one area where you depend too much on others, and take one small step to become more independent. Maybe it's handling your own emotions better, learning to cook, or making your own decisions without always seeking approval. Remember, the goal isn't to cut everyone off but to choose connection out of strength, not weakness. Number 4, failure is your private university. The next principle, dig into failure, don't hide from it. The true warrior doesn't just accept failure, they analyze it, learn from it, and extract lessons. While most people run from setbacks, make excuses, or pretend they're unaffected, the warrior stays alone with their failures and asks, "What is this trying to teach me?" Thomas Edison, famous for inventing the light bulb, once said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways that didn't work." He understood that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the process. And here's the key. All that deep work of learning from failure happens in solitude. When things go wrong in public, people tend to offer advice or sympathy, but the real digging happens when you're alone, free from ego, self-justification, or external opinions. That's when you honestly examine your actions, your preparation, and your choices. Create what I call a failure audit. After a setback, spend time alone analyzing 3 things. First, what could I have controlled that I didn't do? Second, what was outside my control and I need to accept that? Third, what lessons can I take forward to get better next time? This isn't about beating yourself up, it's about self-education. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, faced countless setbacks, military defeats, political betrayals, personal losses. But he wrote in his journal that the obstacle is the way, meaning what blocks your path is actually part of the path. Every failure is a lesson tailored exactly for your growth. Most people avoid this process because it's uncomfortable. Admitting mistakes hurts, facing weaknesses stings, and letting go of proud illusions is hard. But the true warrior knows that growth comes from discomfort. Better to face the temporary pain of honest self-assessment than the long-term misery of repeating the same mistakes. Here's the paradox. The more willing you are to fail alone, analyze it, and learn from it, the less you'll fail in ways that truly matter. When you've turned failures into lessons, you become more resilient, stronger, and more adaptable. Start a failure practice. When something goes wrong, resist the urge to distract yourself. Instead, spend time alone reflecting, right, about what happened, what you could have done differently, what you learned. Recognize that every mistake is just a stepping stone toward mastery. Your failures aren't signs that you're not cut out for success, they're proof that you're in the game and learning. Drop this in the comments. Every failure is my private lesson in becoming unstoppable. Number 5, build your inner fortress. The 5th principle involves creating what ancient thinkers called the inner citadel, mental stronghold that stays firm no matter what storms life throws your way. This isn't about building walls to shut others out. It's about cultivating a space inside that's invulnerable, where your values and peace of mind are protected from external threats. Epictetus, one of history's greatest teachers, said, "No one can hurt you without your permission." That's a profound truth. Physical harm can come to your body, but your character and inner peace are yours to protect or surrender. How do you build this fortress? It starts with understanding the difference between impressions and judgments. An impression is what happens to you: criticisms, lost money, breakups, health scares. These are often outside your control, but your judgment about what they mean, how you interpret them, and how they affect your sense of worth is entirely within your walls. Most people are completely exposed. They let every harsh word or misfortune invade their inner world, ruining their mood and confidence. Their day is ruined when someone criticizes, and their happiness depends on external events. The strongest warriors have layered defenses. The outer layer is perspective, seeing each challenge in the big picture, understanding that everything is temporary and that your value isn't linked to external factors. When someone insults you, remember such words reveal more about their character than yours. When you face setbacks, remind yourself that this too shall pass. The second layer is principles, deeply held values that guide your decisions regardless of outside pressure. When you know what you stand for, no one can make you stumble. The innermost layer is what I call unshakable identitized realization that you are not your roles, your possessions, or your fleeting thoughts and feelings. You are the observer, the consciousness experiencing everything. That core self cannot be touched unless you surrender it. Building this outer fortress takes daily work, choosing your responses wisely, acting consistently with your core values, maintaining your peace amid chaos. Every time you do that, your walls get stronger. Every act of patience, every principled decision, deepens your internal foundation. This fortress also has open window spaces to connect, to serve, to love on your terms, not theirs. True Stoic strength isn't about isolation but sovereignty. You engage fully in life without losing your autonomy. The beauty of this inner fortress. The stronger it becomes, the more you can genuinely help others. When you're not constantly defending your own emotional territory, you have more energy to support, uplift, and celebrate others' successes. When your self-worth isn't dependent on approval, you can give honest feedback without fear and serve with real integrity. Start building yours today. Pick one area where you depend too much on external validation: your mood, your self-esteem, your sense of purpose, and practice maintaining your peace no matter what happens outside. Remember, the real test isn't whether life throws storms at you, but whether you have the strength to stand firm and stay true to your core. Number 6. Have the courage to disappoint others. This might be the hardest one. The willingness to let others down if it means staying authentic. Not out of cruelty or arrogance, but because you understand that trying to keep everyone happy is impossible and, ultimately, inauthentic. Aristotle pointed out that if you want to avoid criticism, do nothing, say nothing, be nothing. But a real warrior rejects this playing small. They know that living genuinely means some people will be disappointed by your choices, by your boundaries, or by the life you choose to lead. They've made peace with this because the alternative is worse. Living a life of pretense, trying to appease everyone, leaves you empty and disconnected from yourself. Many are scared of disappointing others because they've equated being loved with being liked, being accommodating with being valuable. They say yes when they should say no, chase goals that aren't theirs, and keep relationships that drain them, all to avoid conflict or disapproval. But here's the truth. People respect you more when you set clear boundaries. Disappointment, in fact, can be a sign you're on the right path. When you prioritize your values and pursue your authentic goals, some folks will be unhappy. When you refuse to accept less than your worth, some relationships might strain. That's a normal part of growth. The key is learned strategic disappointment, meaning consciously choosing to let certain people down in order to stay true to what truly matters. It's about reserving your energy for the purposes and people that align with your values, not trying to be everything for everyone. Imagine a parent pushing their child toward a career the kid doesn't want. The child faces a choice: disappoint the parent by following their own dreams, or disappoint themselves by living out someone else's expectations. The wise choice: disappoint the parent because living inauthentically only upsets everyone, including the parent who wants happiness for their child. This principle applies daily. Saying no when social pressure pushes you to join gossip, or maintaining your standards when others think you're too strict. These little acts of strategic disappointment make you stronger. It builds your courage muscle. But remember, this isn't about disrespect or carelessness. A true Stoic communicates boundaries clearly and kindly. They respect others' feelings even while standing firm. There's a difference between disappointing someone's expectations and disrespecting them as a person. What matters is choosing your battles wisely, fighting only those you believe are worth it, where compromising your integrity would be a betrayal. The most profound part: people who genuinely love you want you to be real. Even if your honesty sometimes causes disappointment, they'd rather know the real you than love a fake version that keeps the peace at the cost of your soul. Practice this in small ways. The next time someone asks you to do something that conflicts with your values or plans, say no politely but firmly. You'll find that the world doesn't fall apart when you disappoint someone actually. Your honesty makes your relationships more genuine and meaningful. And finally, the last principle of victory through self-mastery. The seventh and final principle is that true victory isn't about beating others or collecting external successes. It's about conquering the one battle that really counts, the fight within yourself. While the world chases after recognition, wealth, or victory over opponents, the real champion is the person who masters their own mind, emotions, and impulses. That's the conquest that no one can take away from you because it's entirely under your control. Lao, an ancient philosopher from the East, said it best: "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." Without question, the true power stems from the quiet strength of discipline, emotional regulation, and conscious choice. Self-mastery isn't about suppressing your humanity or turning into a robot. It's about becoming the conscious director of your inner world, using your emotions as signals, not slaves, observing your thoughts without constantly reacting to them. Every day offers countless chances to practice this. When someone cuts you off in traffic, do you explode or pause and respond wisely? When criticized, do you react defensively or listen and learn? When temptation strikes, do you give in or stay aligned with your long-term goals? These small daily wins build your ultimate personal power. Each time you choose your response instead of reacting automatically, you reinforce your capacity for deliberate action, ruling faculty, as the Stoics called it. Over time, repeated victories over impulse shape your character into someone resilient, steady, and unshakable. The great hidden secret is that external achievements are hollow if you're controlled by rage, fear, or ego. Someone might look successful but be internally enslaved, constantly reacting rather than responding. The true winner is the one who maintains peace, acts with integrity, and chooses their responses with full awareness. Mastery also extends to desire itself, knowing what you want without becoming a slave to that want. Wanting good things is natural, but attaching your happiness to them isn't. A real warrior can aim high without desperation and accept failure without falling apart. This final principle, it wraps everything we've talked about. Solitude helps you understand yourself. Independence from external opinions frees you to stay authentic. Self-reliance gives you the foundation for conscious choice. Learning from failure makes you wiser. Practicing daily builds your inner fortress. And internal validation frees you from dependence. When all these pieces come together, you become the master of your experience, not because you're detached or antisocial, but because you're self-sufficient. Rising alone isn't selfish. It's strength. Winning alone isn't apathy. It's rooted in character. And walking your own path doesn't mean loneliness, it means freedom. So start today. Notice one pattern where you react automatically. Pause, breathe, and choose deliberately instead. Commit to this. I am the master of my mind, emotions, and destiny. Write that in the comments if you like. The journey of the Stoic warrior is tough, no doubt, but it's the only journey that leads to real freedom. In a world that teaches dependence, you've chosen independence. In a culture that demands conformity, you've chosen authenticity. And where others seek validation from outside, you've built unshakable strength within. Remember Marcus' words: very little is needed to lead a happy life. It all begins in your own thinking. Now, armed with these 7 principles, you can start thinking, acting, and living like a true warrior, understanding that real power always starts from within. And walk alone, not because you're lonely, but because you're free.